This is a video on the reCommerce 3 template options. This will be going over how to customize your website and your color scheme. Very first thing you're going to want to do is go to your reCommerce 3 website at the very top. You will change the home.php by deleting that text and then typing in admin at the very end of it. You'll be greeted by a username and password page. Go ahead and type in your reCommerce 3 username and password, which is provided to you by your welcome letter. Once you're here, go ahead and hover your mouse over the Reboot tab and then select Template Settings. Very first thing you'll notice is the navigation bar at the very top. You can quickly jump to any section you want by simply clicking on the link that corresponds to that section. With this page, you'll be able to customize every aspect of your website, including your actual color fields or color options for each section of your web page. For any advanced features or to save yourself time, we also have a reCommerce 3 web development team that is available for your needs. The very first thing we're going to look at is the template options. You start out with the Enable Preset Theme Font Previewer. This allows you to enable a sidebar or a side tab to see the changes that you've made in real time on your website. To activate this, we simply checkmark the checkbox and then apply the changes. Make note, you'll probably end up applying changes a lot to actually see these changes on your website in real time. So we're applying the changes. It's important to actually open up your website in another tab and refresh this page. You'll notice now that there is a cog that you can click on to actually look at the different themes or preset themes that we have available. If you click on any one of these themes, the actual page will change to match the color theme. There's also a very handy Google font viewer. There are approximately 630 Google fonts that you can select from. And these fonts, if you were to change them, will change the entire website to show what the font looks like as far as your headers are concerned. When you select these fonts, they will change the headers. And as you can see, that change was immediate. However, all the body text will remain the same. This change will be made later on from the reCommerce Reboot options. I'm going to go back to Tari. You'll see that that font has changed. This tab is mainly just for development purposes. I would not leave this on. Going back to our admin center here, I'm going to turn that off. Next option we have is a preset theme. These are those preset themes you saw in the font previewer and the preset theme previewer. What we recommend is to select the custom. Custom is the only one that will allow you to change every aspect and color of your website. Moving on, we have the logo image uploader. This is a very simple unit here. When you click on upload, you simply point it to any image that is located in a folder or on a device, and then that image will be uploaded to the website logo here at the very top. Later on, you will be able to change this image to either show up in the middle. You can also expand it or move it over to the right. It's pretty much open to whatever you wish. Next thing we have is a smaller font previewer. It'll affect the words here to your left. You can select any font you want from the previewer and it will actually show you what the words will look like when you change it. So we'll go to Telex, and as you can see, it's a little bit smaller here. And I'm going to go ahead and change that back. The next option, if you checkmark it, will actually take this font and apply it to the entire body text, not just the actual column headers. You can also choose a separate body font stack if you want something a little bit simpler. The Google fonts are not included in this, and that will affect just for the body CSS if checkmarked on the next box. The next option you have is the full width header and footer. As with this option is unchecked, you'll notice that the header image and the header footer do not extend past the actual open area that they have. If you were to enable this option, and we apply the changes, go back to the next page and refresh, you'll notice now they extend. This is very useful if you have some nice imagery or a nice background image that it can extend past the borders. Finally, you can actually affect the menu box style and the dialog box style to be boxed or underlined. Next option we have is the custom theme settings. You have two different types of color pickers. You have the basic and advanced. Basic just simply allows you to select the actual color scheme. You can also select the color or type in the actual hex code if you want to match your landing page that may not be part of reCommerce 3. If you were to select advanced and apply the options, you'll get a more in-depth color picker. So we drop down the color, and now we can actually not only change the hex, but you can also affect your contrast. You can affect the transparency of the color. It's important to note, as I said before, you can only use these settings when the preset theme is set to custom. You cannot affect any of the other color schemes. You have your header background image, which right now it's currently set to shine_25. You can actually view all the different background images by hovering your mouse over the question mark here and then selecting this link. If you open it, you can actually see all the different headers that we have, and there are quite a few. You just simply copy in the text that you want for the header that you want, move over to the previous page, and then paste it into this area here. Moving on, you got the rest of the color options for the header, like the background color and some of the text options. Our advice is to just simply select the color, then play around with the options to see what it actually affects on the other page, although most of it is self-explanatory. So again, you would just simply affect the color, change it to something else here, apply the options, and then go back to your website to see those changes. Another background option that we have is the content background image. You get same option here. If you hover over the question mark and you select the link, you can actually view the different background images that we have as well. And not just for the header, but you can also go further down and you'll have some tiles as well. Now keep in mind, even though these are black, the color option that you select, or the actual custom colors, will actually fill in the images, so it'll look a lot nicer. And the black background is just to simply give you an idea of what that design looks like. You can also select whether that image is tiled, stretched, pretty much anything your desktop would allow you to do, you could select it here. For the next option, we have the layout options. You can affect your header layout style to where you have the search box aligned to the right. You could have it centered at the middle, or you can just have your logo centered and possibly your search box towards the bottom or below that centered logo. The next options are your home page column layout, moving on to your store column layout. This simply can select your entire page or your entire website and make it either a one column layout, a two column layout, or a three column layout with some, or I should say the two column layout with left or right menu. These changes you can easily see. The best way to look at it is go to the home page one, and then you can drop it down to full width. So if you notice right now, I have a two column page layout, which means I have this one giant column towards your left, and then I have a smaller column for navigation on my right. If I select one column full width and I apply the changes, go back to my website, and then I refresh the page, that navigation menu is now gone, and everything is just really nice and big. One column. Going back, I'll go ahead and select the three column option, and we'll apply those changes. And now we have your control panel on the left, your main column for viewing items is in the middle, and then your speed bar and your navigation options are on the right. Now keep in mind this only affects the middle or the body of the page and not the footer. You actually have separate options for the footer. The nice thing to note is that you may want your home page column to say be a simple layout or a one column, and you can actually affect what the other pages look like. For instance, your product pages can be a two column with the right menu. Your store column layout can also be a two column with the right menu. Maybe some other pages like your static and your cart options or your cart column can be a 3-column. These footer options can actually be changed from a 4-column layout. You can move all the way down to style 7, which is a 2-column with an alternate layout. The best way to experiment with these is just to change them and then go back to the website and refresh, so that way you can see what they look like and make your selection based off of that. And of course, for the column 1 through column 4 layouts, you can actually select what information is displayed there or what links are there. These correspond to these options down here. And they are interchangeable. You can actually change them out. The next thing we're going over is the home page options. For your display of product details, this simply just shows for your featured products or for best sellers whether or not you want that information to be inside a tab or inside different options. So if we select inside tabs for horizontal, we apply this, I'll show you where that area is. We go ahead and go back to the reCommerce website, we refresh, we go all the way down, and then it's literally in a tab for featured products. If we go back and we select accordion and under home page options, inside accordions we apply that, go back to the reCommerce website, refresh. Now it's inside of literally an accordion options. If we click this up arrow, it'll actually go up. If we drop it down, you'll see the featured products. So it kind of makes the site a little bit more cleaned up. Going back to home page options, you can display the welcome message as a standard or inside a tab or accordion, just like you saw with the featured products. There's also a manufacturer's logo slider to which you can actually edit. You can choose whether or not you want your latest news block for the home page to be inside of a standard option or an accordion option. You can also disable or enable promotions if you do or do not have them. And finally, for the countdown alert, which is kind of neat, you can use this to display an alert on your website that will count down to an event that you may have. An example of this would be perhaps if it's your grand opening or if it's a 10% off or a 15% off sale, you can actually have it count down to the day that that sale takes place. For your homepage slider option, this coincides with the slider up in the middle here. You can actually affect the image, the slide caption. You can have that actually link to another page on your website or completely separate from your reCommerce 3 website. You have different transition effects that you can use, including how fast the actual slides transition, along with the navigation bullets, if you want navigation bullets or not. You can also completely randomize the images to where they go out of order. The upload option for these is very simple. You simply click the upload button for slide 1 image, and you point it to an image on either an iPad or your iPhone, any device, or a folder that contains the images. You can then type in your slide link to go inside of your page or to another website that is outside of your page. Your actual slide caption is the words that you see on the bottom of the image. So you would repeat this process through slide 2 all the way through a maximum of 10 slides. So what I mean by this, if you go back to your reCommerce video, you click on the slide 3 caption. It actually says slide 3 caption, but you replace it with the caption that you wish. And then the link is where this goes if I click on the actual caption. For the next option, we have menu options. These are your actual category menus at the very top. So you can, right now I currently have it set to a drop-down flyout menu. It does have up to 5 levels. This corresponds on my website to this option here. So as you can see, I drop this down, I go even further. You got your first category, which is your department, which is for women's apparel. Your section would be pants and shorts, or your second category. And then your third and final category would be your type of item, which is jeans. If I were to change this option, we'll go to a mega category menu, and I'll apply this. Refresh the page. Now it just is a much bigger view. So I can go ahead and just drop this down and it'll actually break it down even further to where there's more categories on the website. And then a customer could just click on the third category level, and then you'll see all the items on the website, or at least in that section. All these other options have to do with the way the menus drop down and what exactly is featured or what is shown. So you can enable your manufacturers if you have a manufacturer's drop down. You have another for static pages. You could break down the actual mega menu columns, how many you see. Moving down for the sidebar menu, it's pretty much the same idea. For the side or the sliding category menu, you're looking at the menu that's on your left. Or if you have the category 2 that's set to the right, it would be on the right-hand side. Typically, some of these options you're not going to really want to touch, like the enable responsive menu. You're probably going to want to leave that on. Moving further down, we have the product display options. Typically, you can select whether you want the grid view or the row view. And I'll show you what this corresponds to. When you have a grid view, you're looking at this option here. So this would be a grid view where there's a long vertical box and they're displayed horizontally. Whereas with the row view, this corresponds to a long horizontal box, but they're displayed vertically. So it's the exact opposite. And you can, of course, pick and choose which one you want. You can also take this actual selector out. And this option corresponds to enable products view switcher if you just prefer it to be one or the other rather than giving the customer the ability to select which one they want. It's also important to know if you want to default the products view, which you will need to do, you do need to clear your browser cache, which is for your cookies. And you'll notice if you cover your mouse over this question mark, it'll say it's stored with a cookie. So you'll need to clear your browser cache in order to test. And it really depends on what browser you have as to how to do this. A lot of these other options are more for individual product switchers. You can also enable rating star, so that way it's tracked depending on if your customer likes the item or not, or typically they would select the star, click on the actual star from 1 to 5, and that would be the rating on the product. The next options that we have is the product display options. These are whether or not you want the actual image to be on the left side or the right side. You can put in exactly what those images are going to be displayed as, whether they be inside accordions, which is that nice up and down effect, or whether they'll be in tabs. And you can also turn off the social sharing buttons on the product page, and these correspond to these buttons here. And we have them for Facebook, Twitter, the Google Plus, and then Pinterest. Next, we have the social options area. These are actually pretty neat, whereas you just simply type in the ID, which is if you hover over your question mark, it'll actually tell you where to get that information. So right now, I have it going to BBC News. So if I go to the very top here where those actual buttons are, I go to Facebook, it's going to take me to BBC News. And what it's saying is to take the end part of the URL, which is BBC News, and then simply copy and paste that into the field that corresponds to Facebook. So again, you cover over your mouse over the question mark, and then you'll see your ID. If you leave them blank, that button will disappear. Next, we have the add-ons menu. The lightbox theme corresponds to when you actually click on an image. So if we were to select the white-green theme and I go to my actual website, I click on an image to view it, you'll see it's just kind of a nice green navigational bar. However, if we select the default, I go to the default theme here, and we apply this, I will refresh the page, and now it's just a darker theme. These are other options that you can have to your left. You could do a dynamic product search. There's also a search by price, which allows the customer to select the price range that they're looking for. You can also have it display the location details on your Contact Us page. Includes a Google map, and you can affect the pixels as to how big that map is. The side panel is just another pop-up aside from your theme switcher. and that pops up to your left. You can also enable an option like that, and the feedback if you want a customer to be able to put a feedback on an item or service. The RSS feed options are newsreaders that the customers use, and they can use the feed that comes off your website to display new news from news management or products. These are new products that have been added. You would simply activate this feed. The customer would then be able to click on the links at the top right of your page, and then they can grab the XML and input it into their actual newsreader. For the next option, we have miscellaneous options, which is just that. These are for the header contact area of your web page. For these, I would just recommend going through them, affecting the changes, going through the question marks, and seeing how they affect your website. I typically do not see a lot of people touching the miscellaneous options, however, they're here for your use. As for the rest of the reCommerce template, I would only recommend these options for developers. This concludes the video on the reCommerce template options.